We are studying a text, Panchadashi, that says non-practice is the way. Non-practice means the knowledge, understanding, clarity, and then we live into that awareness. So when we live into that awareness, huh? So when we live into that awareness, the mind, the mind lives into that awareness, then what happens? Then meditative state returns. That is what we are studying in Panchadashi, verse after verse. So I'm taking a few verses ahead, and then we will go back to the same. So here, this verse says that I'm the real self beyond the three states. Now see that that statement contains the knowledge beyond the three states. But this mind will not realize until the mind is free from the pleasure it is seeking from the objects of the world outside. A simple pleasure, for example, of candy, takes away our freedom. We become habitual, we become instinctive, we become impulsive. If I don't get it, I'm angry, I'm agitated. So we should understand that any object outside or a person outside causes me this suffering. Life is a series of experiences. We pass through, that is what we have been understanding in this session. We have been passing through the waking state, the dream state, and the sleep state. I believe you still remember that the body and the mind is fully active in the waking state. Body is not, but mind is active in the dream state. And none of these two are active in the sleep state. But there is something within that passes through all the three states. Even it is very clear to us that the waking state does not know what is dream and the sleep. Sleep state does not know what is waking and the dream. And the sleep state, or dream state, does not know the other two. But we as a whole pass through the waking state, dream state, and the sleep state. What is the solution? Solution is only the knowledge. Knowledge of who am I? Knowledge of who am I? What is this world and the existence? This is how the master goes in this verse. Now question comes, who is this I? Who is this I? We have done study in the university, Ivy League University, 5, 10, 12 years of study to become a doctor. Did I bring an end to the suffering? That is the question. That is the question. So the master claims that you may become Ariana, Beyonce, you become Bill Gates, and still you are suffering. Huh? Sam is remembering. I've been doing MBA. So whatever we study outside, now we focus on the knowledge. Whatever we study outside is one branch of knowledge. And in that branch of knowledge, we become selective. It is very small part of the knowledge as compared to the knowledge in the world. So even after studying, going to the Ivy League, did my master's and then the PhD, does the frustration ends? Does the suffering ends? That needs to be clearly understood. Can you believe that Edison and the Newton were free from suffering? We have already an example of our friend Bill Gates. We continue to have the same stress before and after the study. I also studied too much and used to burn midnight oil. And if some guest used to come and I said, no, I'm upset and I don't want to talk. Don't disturb me. I took admission in PhD. I did it for 2 years, then I left it. I said, no. Something happened in my mind. I said, no, I'm not doing anything. It's enough is enough. So the knowledge outside what we get, status, professional competition, again problem. More money? No, I'm highly qualified, so I want more money. So again, I'm frustrated. I got good marks, so I built an ego. But suffering did not come to it. So the master is saying, master declares, now I am saying, master says you don't know anything. That is why you are suffering. So that is why I made a base. The fundamental cause of the suffering, and master says that I do not know who am I. But how ignorance is related to suffering? Ignorance means I'm ignorant, I do not know. But how it is related to suffering? We have a proverb, genius is a form of insanity. Greater the IQ, the greater the problems. Have you heard that those who scored higher IQ, they committed suicide? At least no monk, no master in our tradition has committed suicide. Now, those who knows that tradition. So where we are lacking, I do not know my identity. I do not know my identity. Who am I? Who am I? So let's master focus on the three things: listening and learning, contemplation and reflection, and ultimately reaching to that point of knowledge where I realize that this is me, this is I, which is free from suffering. Last time we understood that one thing is common, the consciousness is common in every thought, action, feeling, images that we in our daily life. Whether it is a waking state, it is it. Well, if you do not understand, that too is okay, because then you will listen again. But the last time what we did, that every thought has an object. I have a knowledge about an object, and then there is a thought of an object, and the last thing is that consciousness is very much common in everything that we do. I'm talking. So you say that, I know that I'm a teacher, I'm teaching you. You just go on. Consciousness is common in every activity, in every thought, in every feeling, in every. Because we are burdened by the thoughts, feeling, and the images pertaining to the world, I find my identity in relationship to the world outside. And that is blocking me to know who am I. The moment that identity with the world is broken in the mind by the knowledge. You are already in a meditative state. You're already in the meditative state. So it means we need to become aware that any thought that comes to me is not me. Pertaining to an object is not me. That includes anxiety, stress, duality, conflict, reaction, anything that is not. So this is the seventh verse. That verse says the self. Now pay attention to this. That consciousness or something within me, it continues days after days, weeks after weeks, months after months, years after years. That continues. That continues. Whether I am 5 years old, 20 years old, 50 years old, that still continues. That is the first thing. Then it says that this self, this consciousness is same in the past, present, and the future. And it is same in waking state, dream state, and the sleep state. I've taken this verse before I go back to the previous verses. Here, Master says this self, this consciousness, neither rises nor sets like the sun which rises in the sets. It is one and the same. It is same in the waking state. It is same in the anger. It is same in the reaction. It is same in the pleasure. It is same in the pleasure. So it neither rises it nor sets. So what never rises nor sets, which never changes, we give it a word of Sat. Sat means, literally it means truth, or we say it is existence. What is existence? That never rises nor sets, that never changes. But how to know that existence? That is consciousness. So here the Master says that existence and the consciousness are essentially one. So there is another word. Once we understand these few words, and then it becomes easy for us to move to the journey. We are understanding. We are getting the knowledge. So self is existence and self is consciousness. So one example that light is there, whether I remove all the items or whether I put lot of items in the room, the light does not change. Light does not change. So that means that light is independent of any object present in the room or is not present in the room. Consciousness, that consciousness is ever present. Whether we live in this body or not, whether we are waker or dreamer or sleeper. Another word is given that this self is self-effulgent. Self is shining, always behind and beyond thought, speech, and action. This self, this consciousness is self-existent. Means what? It does not need to depend on anything outside. My body to exist, it depends on food. Breath, it depends on the air. The mind, it depends on the thought. Ego, it depends on everything. Body, breath, mind, intellect, and ego. But that self, that consciousness is independent, self-aware. It does not depend on anything. Because it does not depend on anything means what? It continues. It does not change. It is a never changing reality. And that never changing reality is what is real self. That is what is the subject of meditation. Then another part it says the real self is of the nature of permanent peace and happiness. How come? And I have spoken many times. Do you love to survive? So, what is inside us helps us, gives the idea, gives the no, 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 I want to survive. So, I love my existence. Do you love peace? Peace is my nature. Do I love love? Yes, love is my nature. So when the peace and the love go together, it becomes the permanent peace and happiness. Do I want to live in happiness? When? Ask yourself when. Only at your home or at your workplace also? No, everywhere. Pay attention. So when I want to be happy everywhere, I have to be present. That I has to be present in all conditions, at all time, in all relations, to be happy. Then we know the object do not contain happiness. That very I is the nature of permanent. Are you getting? That I is the nature of permanent happiness. That is why I love myself much more than anyone. So that real self, it appears it has three elements, but it is all the three are one. Existence, consciousness, absolute existence, consciousness, and what we use the word in English translation as a bliss, but it is permanent happiness. The Sanskrit word is known as ananda, the joy from all the sights. Joy is 360 degrees. So that real self is here and now because everything depends on that real self. And that real self is independent of anything and everything in the world outside. That consciousness is one throughout all my experiences. That consciousness is present in all locations, at all times, in all objects, people, place, and the thing. Whether you are lying down, consciousness is there. Whether you are sitting, consciousness there. Whether you are angry, consciousness is still behind. But the mind takes over, and then we continue to suffer. It is the same. Whether it is yesterday, whether your mind said it's a good morning or a bad morning, the consciousness is there unaffected. It continued since our birth until now. But when this I, that I use the word I, identify with the body, the problem begins. I identify with the breath, the problem begins. I identify with the mind, problem begins. I am upset, means I am the mind. That is why I am upset. I have a headache. I identify that I am the body. That is why I am suffering. So I forget that consciousness. Knowledge. So the knowledge has to be put into the mind. Why the knowledge has to be put into the mind? Because we are ignorant about who am I. I do not know who am I. So there is a lot of misunderstanding created by the cultural, social, religious conditioning to our mind. Think of this. Every day we move with those conditioning, and that causes the suffering. So, by the knowledge, we remove that conditioning from the mind. Whether it is a social conditioning, whether it is cultural conditioning, whether it is conditioning of the mind with reference to the body. That real self is unchanging, one consciousness, and that one consciousness is present everywhere, whether it is your consciousness or my consciousness, for the sake of understanding, but it is only one consciousness. We see the difference because of the body, shape, size, form, color, thoughts, feelings, age, gender, color. So, what is the misunderstanding? The body is the container. I am different from the container. Container is not the content. So that in all the religions, it is known as God. That existence is known as God. Main thing is that how to allow the entry of the mind to that knowledge. As long as this mind identifies with I am a boy, I'm a girl, I'm stressed, I'm happy, I'm unhappy, I possess this, I don't possess this. This I should leave everything that I possess, I own, I feel, and this I, the moment this I goes inside with reference to the mind, we enter into the meditation. We live in meditative state. We speak out of the meditative state. We think in the meditative state. Let us see how it works. Close your eyes and non-practice, even though we practice, but we will do. It will be totally a non-practice. Why I say the non-practice? Because we do not ask the mind to do anything. Just